Hi, this is Dave. Have you ever thought about leverage, as a strategy to grow your business and grow your territory? Well, that's what I'm talking about today. Whether you are a small business person or a professional salesperson or professional of any kind, you can utilize a powerful strategy to take your performance to dramatically higher levels. And that strategy is leverage. Leverage revolves around the idea of multiplying the effects of some effort. So when you think of a lever, it allows you to lift a very large weight with a disproportionately small effort. So a little bit of effort moves a large force. That's the idea of leverage. Now, in business, the same idea holds true. A little bit of time, money, and effort can accomplish a great deal when you leverage that small amount of time and effort into disproportionately large results. Typically, in a business setting, this means that you examine some of the things that you are now doing and you find a way to leverage them to greater effectiveness. You use the same amount of effort or money, but you use it in a way that produces multiply better results. You just basically think a little differently. So here's an example. At one time in my life, I sold surgical staplers. Now, in order to sell them, I had to detail the stapling system to a surgeon and then train him in a lab to use the products, and then work with him afterward in surgery. So this was a very time-intensive process. It occurred to me one day that I could leverage my time by training more than one surgeon at a time. So I developed a process where I would have 4 to 6 surgeons attend a short seminar and then spend the afternoon working in the lab with the group. In the time that it took me to train one surgeon, I trained 4 to 6. Now, that's leverage. Okay, here's another example. In another sales position, I represented 70,000 line items to a customer base of about 30 hospitals. So I would see each one on a regular basis, and I always made a rule to have one of those 70,000 items to present to them. Then one day, in an effort to leverage my time in front of them, I decided to take 2. What a flash of inspiration. Now, in roughly the same time, I had doubled the likelihood of creating a sale. That's leverage, getting more value out of a certain situation, out of investment of time or money, whatever the case may be. Now, if you notice in both cases, I thought a little differently about something I was currently doing and found a way to lever that activity to greater results. That's the secret to begin to use leverage to increase your business or increase your personal sales. Look at what you're currently doing and think a little differently about those activities. Can you wring more value out of them? There are literally unlimited ways that you can apply this concept to your business. So here's a few. Number one, leverage the sales relationships you have in order to create more relationships. It's a pretty simple idea. The people who currently buy from you probably know other people who could buy from you. So you leverage the relationships you have to create more. Now, in a large account, for example, you do this by making it a practice to always ask every contact to introduce you to someone else within the organization. It won't take long before you have thoroughly penetrated all the decision-making levels of that organization. You just have to think that way. Contractors can leverage the work they do for one customer to create others simply by canvassing the neighborhood around their worksite and passing out business cards and brochures. The relationship created in one job becomes the leverage point for potential additional relationships and sales. I can go on for pages with ideas, but you get the idea. Just ask yourself, How can I leverage this relationship, this event, this transaction into more potential? You just have to think differently. So that's one idea. Here's another: leverage customer demographics into market segment focuses. Okay, so let me explain what I'm talking about here. You study your customer base and see if you can find any trends in terms of the types of people or accounts who are buying from you. Use those trends to point you to market segments and begin to proactively address those market segments. So one of my industrial supply clients has taken this approach to a high level and has multiplied his business by a factor of 5 over about a 10-year period. Instead of selling everything to everyone in a specific geographical area, he discovered that a number of his customers fell into 2 or 3 market categories. So he then created specific catalogs for those segments, a website for each individual segment, and then backed it up with a national sales approach specifically focused on only those segments. This approach allowed him to be expert in those niches and to leverage his marketing time and resources to places where it would get the greatest return on investment. Here's another example. When I first began my consulting practice, I'd work with whoever popped up on the radar screen. And as I began to acquire a big enough list of clients, I noticed that a significant number of them were wholesale distributors. Now, I had previously had a great deal of successful sales experience in that industry, and so I began to focus on them as a special market segment. Now, today I've written 4 books for the wholesale distributor market, have spoken at 90 plus national trade associations for them, and do the bulk of my business with wholesale distributors. Now, both of these examples illustrate the power and potential of leverage applied to an analysis of your customers. Here's a third way you can use leverage. Leverage successes and failures into opportunities to expand your knowledge and refine your systems. I'm perplexed by the fact that the vast majority of organizations and the overwhelming majority of individual salespeople never use a significant event, either a success or a failure, to add to their knowledge base and improve what they do next. We just had a failure in the number of people who subscribed to one of my open enrollment seminars, a number of enrollments that was a fraction of what we were expecting. So instead of feeling sorry for ourselves, blaming whatever we could think of to blame, we decided to leverage as much value as we could from the experience and schedule a meeting to uncover things we could have done differently. Next time will be better. It's sort of failure analysis where you look at some major failure and dissect it. What is it that you could have done differently? That's an incredibly powerful learning experience. So you leverage the failure into something bigger and better. Of course, the same thing can be said about successes. If you have a major success, you just take a deep breath and say, okay, why did this happen? What did we do? What can we learn from that? What can we duplicate next time? So leverage applied in multiple ways in a business and a career can be one of those absolute key concepts that fund your growth to the next level. You just have to think a little differently. Okay, that's it. We're done. Bye-bye.